Love of God, little family, greatest nation on earth.
You're back. Episode 3. Last time we had just finished just picked out most of the people in the prison facility. Now,
My name is Hometown. Commonwealth of Virginia. You're not done fighting for us.
Influence. If you can collect parents. Got this.
All right, that is
That
is a big candidate percent right there in the state of Virginia. Uncounted. He's got an incredible story. It's a tight state, but it's a state that's turning more and more red every day. We love to see that. And coming up here after the break, we have a very special guest. Maybe the next Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, is coming to stay tuned.
Tax Network USA proudly supports tonight's INC coverage.
Do you owe over $10,000 in back taxes? Kevin Sorbo here with an important message. The Biden administration has proposed an $80 billion plan to boost IRS collections. This means they could garnish your wages, levy your bank account, and even seize your property. Tax Network USA, a trusted tax firm, can help protect your income and assets today while quickly settling your tax debt. But you have to act now while you still have options. Call Tax Network USA today.
You trust this economy. What if you can receive a strong fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? And what if you were in control? You could turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. What if your interest was compounded daily, you were paid monthly, and there were absolutely no fees? And what if you could have peace of mind because there was no attack on your principal if you ever needed your money back? Well, folks, there is an investment with all of these features. Investors all over the country are earning a high fixed rate of return with wire refi. And they don't care about what happens to the stock market or the Fed. And best of all, they receive their statement every month with no surprises. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investwirerefi.com. That's investwirerefi.com. Wire Refi, do well by doing good.
Wounded Warrior Project empowers post-9/11 veterans with life-changing programs and services.
I realized I could be successful in a civilian career.
We stand by warriors and advocate for their needs going forward.
Back.
Through our programs, community, and advocacy, we're proving anything is possible. Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/connect.
Type 2 diabetes? Discover the Ozempic Trizep. I got the power of 3. It lowered my A1C, CV risk, and lost some weight. In studies, the majority of people reached an A1C under 7 and maintained it. I'm under 7. Ozempic lowers the risk of major cardiovascular events such as stroke, heart attack, or death in adults also with known heart disease and lowering my risk. Adults lost up to 14 pounds.
I lost some weight.
Ozempic isn't for people with type 1 diabetes. Don't share needles or pens or reuse needles. Don't take Ozempic if you or your family ever had medullary thyroid cancer or have multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2 or are allergic to it. Stop Ozempic and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or an allergic reaction. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis, gallbladder problems may occur. Wonder about vision problems or changes. Taking Ozempic with a sulfonylurea for insulin may increase low blood sugar risk. Side effects like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea may lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems. Living with type 2 diabetes?
That's not the EP.3 with Ozempic. Never married.
It's really 24.
Express there. Yeah, race the dragons and that good of show.
All right, welcome back. Joined once again by Greg Van Susteren. Our special programming for night one of the convention is kicking off. A lot of big names. And good evening to you. I'm Rob Schmidt.
And
Really good to see you.
But yeah.
That's right. That's right. And we have a very special
Nice
doing
looking,
this here on the set. It could be a hint.
Yeah.
Have you seen one of these yet?
that's a first.
It's amazing how fast they get these made right there. Senator J.D. Vance joins us on President Trump's running mate, and he's here with us on the set. And my first question is, are you still a senator for how much longer? I mean, does that change?
Well, that won't change until we win. So until you win, we got to win first, and obviously I think we will. And I think you see a lot of my future colleagues hopefully joining us in the United States Senate, which I guess if this thing goes well, it goes as I expect it to. Unfortunately, I have to serve with a lot of those guys, which is bittersweet, but it means we've done a lot of good production. So I'll take it.
Because you had a famous book out and you've been in the U.S. Senate. But I've been digging into it a little bit. You know what struck me is that Elizabeth Warren is a literally good, said about me that you are terrific to work with. This is really the point.
Well, you know, my attitude towards the United States Senate is it's not a high-priced debate society. I am very conservative. I'm one of the more conservative members in a lot of ways, but I also get to walk across the aisle and get things done for the people of the city of Washington, D.C. And so, for example, I forget the financial crisis 18 or so months ago, sort of a minor financial crisis where, frankly, a lot of executives wrote their banks on the ground, but they didn't sell free macros back. So I think that's fundamentally unfair. If you're going to require a taxpayer bailout to save your bank, then you should not be able to pay yourself that bonus on the other end. So working with Elizabeth Warren on some issues related to that. And I've worked with a number of colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, to get things done. It's one of the things people really underappreciate, I think, about President Trump's approach to leadership is obviously you have some fringe elements on the left who hate his guts, but actually a lot of my Democratic colleagues who lived in private, he was very easy to work with because he could make deals for the American people.
Well, it's interesting because you've worked on issues like interest for the consumer. I mean, things that aren't particularly sexy topics, but are still probably important.
Absolutely. Things that really matter. Right? How much you pay? What are bank CEOs doing? Are taxpayers bailing out some of these institutions? And if they are, can the taxpayers get some of the money back? Like, these are things that necessarily make headlines, but they're part of the government.
I want to talk a little bit of the palace intrigue of the moment. You know, I mean, what the moment that you had yesterday. You said you didn't even know until you got here to the RNC. You're 39 years old. This is the first RNC you've ever attended. And you show up and you're the vice presidential nominee. I mean, that's just crazy.
It's totally crazy. I mean, the last week where I was going to write another book, probably one is the first one out my life. And we landed in Milwaukee right away. I had no idea whether President Trump had made a selection. He certainly hadn't told me. And the coolest part about it is when I finally talked to him around 2 o'clock in the office in the spot, you know how I grew up. I grew up in a poor family, like never expected to be anywhere, much less being asked to run as the vice presidential nominee for the Republican Party. But it's so funny, my kid is talking in the background because we have our 3 kids here. And so my 7-year-old is talking in the background, and President Trump says, put him on the phone. It's just offered me the vice presidential slot, and then he takes the time to talk to my 7-year-old. One of these memories that I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
He's got to want the job. You say, when he has to be vice president nominee, what do you say, son?
Well, in this case, I said yes. I said that.
He presented to you.
Well, the way he presented to me, it's funny. He walked me through why he had asked me as his nominee. Of course, I was honored to hear it. And then he said, "Well, JD, I have to ask, do you accept?" And I said, "Yes, sir, absolutely. It's my great honor to accept."
I'll ask you, I mean, there was a write-up about yourself and about kind of this new Republican Party and these young guys that have kind of created this. It's a different party, and it kind of started with Trump. You've evolved it a little bit further. These different kind of politics. It's not pro-corporate. It's very populist in nature. Talk about, your politics and what's changing in this party, because I've seen a lot of changes.
Pundits here.
Oh, absolutely. I think that fundamentally, President Trump has changed the Republican Party, and I think he's changed it for the better.
Yeah.
You see a lot of new people coming into the party, a lot of blue-collar folks, a lot of working-class people. And look, the basic idea here is very simple. America has to be a manufacturing powerhouse. If you don't make your own weapons, if you don't make your own pharmaceuticals, you can't do anything else, and you can't employ good workers unless you're actually building your own stuff. So you hear President Trump talk a lot about made in America. What does that mean? Well, you've got to have low energy costs. You've got to be willing to fight back against the Chinese and their trade habits. You've got to be willing to actually rebuild the American heartland. And President Trump did a lot of that for 3 years. I think if we give him another chance, he's going to do a lot more.
Trump says that it used to be the Democratic Party, College Party.
Yeah.
Where's the switch? Because it really has changed in the last couple decades.
I think it's changed slowly for a couple of decades, and then all of a sudden, with President Trump's ascension to the Republican Party nominee in 2016, and obviously his election to the presidency, you had people. People in my family who were ancestral Democrats, right? Patriotic, socially moderate to conservative, that they love their country. They just want a good chance, right? If you work hard, you play by the rules, you ought to be able to pay for a house, you ought to be able to put food on the kids' table. That basic attitude, I think a lot of people feel abandoned by the Democrats. They feel looked down on. They feel like Democrats don't actually care about their priorities. And President Trump listened to people. It's kind of amazing, and it sounds very trite, but having a political leader who actually likes the people who vote for him, President Trump loves these people. They know it, and I think that nexus is the source of this whole movement.
I want to talk something that's, what I thought was one of the worst things about his first term was the assault by the bureaucratic state on everything they tried to do, and how much that crippled that first term. How do you guys avoid that? How do you dismantle that when you go in this? Obviously he's learned the lesson, but that was a real drag on the first term.
No, that's absolutely right. Take just maybe the most important issue confronting our country right now, which is the 20 million illegal aliens that we have here. Of course, it brings a lot of sex trafficking, it brings a lot of drugs, a lot of crime, 100,000 brotherless deaths in our country. All of that is connected to what's going on at the southern border. The bureaucracy of the immigration system actually fighting President Trump as he fought to bring border security to this country. Well, a couple things have happened since then. First of all, the Supreme Court justices that he appointed have passed down some rulings that I think will empower the president to really do border enforcement. And second of all, you have a Republican Party, your point, Rob, that is really transformed. And you have a lot of Republicans who are going to support the American First agenda, not fight against it. That's a big difference. We remember in 2016, I was talking with Stephen Miller about this. When President Trump talked about putting American workers first, he was maybe the only speaker at the convention that year who actually believed in his core agenda. The party in 8 years has been transformed, and that's going to make it easier for him to govern. And if it's easier for him to govern, it's going to be better for him.
I think I always love the stories. I read that you voice message from the current Vice President of the States, Kamala Harris. Did you get a voice message from her? Voice message?
I did. So President Trump offers me this job, okay, and my phone starts blowing, and I get a call from actually an unknown number, and it was apparently Vice President Kamala Harris. We talked today. Actually, she was very gracious, very cordial, and I appreciated the call. Obviously, we're going to do everything that we can to persuade the American people to vote for President Trump, Vice President Vance's ticket. But I appreciate the call.
Did you say that?
I did not. I did not.
But she's challenged you now to a debate before her convention.
Okay, I didn't see that, but obviously we want to debate Vice President Harris because it's important for the American people to see the contrast. And by the way, President Trump's, I think, roundhouse kick in the first debate is part of the reason why you
have to debate the shit out of her, man.
Right now. It is really the contrast between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats are actively trying to
no chance.
Us. This party out here is really united behind President Trump. It's a really good feeling, and I think that momentum is something you can almost reach out and touch. It's so powerful. It's so cool. Let's talk about winning this election here at the RNC. Stephen was actually reporting that the plan is whoever the VP was a few days ago was basically just going to be embedded in Pennsylvania. It was going to be very heavy Pennsylvania. And that's when I read that, I think it was maybe a week ago, that's when I thought, I feel like it's Vance because I know Ohio, I'm from Ohio, and I just know how close that is to Pennsylvania. It's the same people. Who's going to connect better with them, than J.D. Vance? Is that the plan? Are you on a mission to get Pennsylvania? Well, you knew more than me because I didn't know anything until yesterday. But the thing that I'll say is absolutely Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, obviously we're here in Milwaukee, a major focus of President Trump's campaign. And look, it's very simple. Why does Joe Biden want to buy oil from Iran and from Vladimir Putin instead of from Pennsylvania energy workers? Why does he want to further weaken the American manufacturing economy that allows us to project power overseas? Why does he constantly pursue the interests of foreign despots over the interests of the American citizen and the American worker? That is a case that I think works all over the country. I really think it's an argument that works in Pennsylvania and Michigan because they have felt the neglect of the consensus in Washington that leaves American workers behind. President Trump's going to change that.
You mentioned Iran. Iran is just fueling trouble in the Middle East. It always has, and it's been. You have any thoughts on that? I mean, it's dogged every president. They're paying money to kill people, kill Americans, and destroy Israel.
Two things very quickly, Greta. Number one, the Iranian.
The speech we're expecting, and he does have this historic victory. That means a major mandate.
It's a mandate.
And that means they can't get in the way of the mandate. That means no bureaucratic shenanigans. That means no hoaxes. That means not what they did during the first term. That means the American people's will is behind this man overwhelmingly, and they have to get out of the way.
You put your finger on precisely the right word. If you win a narrow electoral college victory, then you have the right to govern. If you win a mandate, you have the right for transformational change. If you want transformational change, it needs to be a mandate, which means to be an electoral college landslide.
So you'll see mass deportations, you'll see tax legislation, you'll see trade reform. You'll pretty much see everything that he promised during the.
They're trying to appeal more to the kind of disenfranchised or frustrated parts of the Democratic coalition. I can say, having spent some time the last few days texting with some of those old guard Republicans, they have not seen a single thing in this convention so far that makes them excited about Donald Trump and anything they feel worried about.
Okay, comments there in Milwaukee. Anthony Stefanik is on stage. She's someone who has a very fancy trajectory that didn't get cut as vice president, though who knows? Sky's the limit in the future. There's much more to come here on our special coverage of night 2 of the RNC, including some real keeping on the Make America Safe Again theme of the night. Plus, Congressman Jimmy Raskin will be here with his response to the agenda Republicans, particularly his congressional colleagues, are laying out. Don't miss any of it. Just keep it right here.
What does a robot do? How about love? It takes a human to translate that leap in our hearts.
Thanks, America. God bless you. God bless President Donald J. Trump. And God bless the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, New York just ahead. We are waiting remarks from more top House Republicans, including Speaker Mike Johnson. Also, question: can Nikki Haley persuade any skeptical Republicans to vote Donald Trump? Standing by her remarks from the most important speeches of the year.
Your guy at this, or our team's still bad in pieces. Slow the draft. Come on, let's have a conversation. Hey, guys.
They didn't have it all their own way. An opening round loss to France.
It encourages debate and counters government censorship. It gives everyday champions and the forgotten a voice. So why do we lead the world in innovative technology? Because we're free.
Domino's, you get more than just amazing, delicious pizza. There's also lava cakes, bread bites, and more.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Especially last team, Bill Gates. Normally, Bill Gates forces this to use. He owns a field because the little birds that comes out of pocket. All the skill does is praise it to the layers of flash forward in the stores. Get back to recently. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, just look at that. It looks great. Try and improve the label of fields, and you know it doesn't look and taste good. The whole idea behind a field is so you don't need a plastic to wrap your vegetables. Because they say it tracks in the moisture with a chemical layer they spray on top of it. And it can keep a fruit from decomposing for weeks longer than one that's natural. Just look at the difference these two avocados at 21 days. Just imagine what this is doing to your insides if it's doing just for fruit. You know, isn't just backed by Bill Gates, it's also backed by none other than Oprah and Katy Perry. It's even close to the end of what Bill Gates and other big names are trying to do more food. As we all know, Bill Gates is the largest farm nation in the United States. He is no longer just targeting your produce. He's coming for the meat too. If I'm permanent, bugs. He has been implemented. Okay, that turns bugs into protein powder. He's for beans, cereals, muffins. Gates isn't the only one who heavily invested in full protein. Nobody doesn't see they use money for a jar for yep. That's why the kids investing into drug protein. Even the Department of Agriculture is investing in food protein to start pushing it farther into our food systems. One more drop of telling not plastic avocados and bugs.
The plot thickens. First, they start filling the fruits and vegetables with vaccines. And now, they're spraying chemical stabilizers right onto the fruit, giving us who knows what kind of disease, all in the name of saving the planet. What good is the planet going to be to us if we're all dead?
This is a double torus, and we live in the middle. Check this out. For example, that green plane in the middle, that's where we live. So where am I getting this shape from? From the magnetic field line of the negative. This is a ring magnet on a device called a ferrule cell that lets us see the magnetic field lines of the magnet. It's pretty cool. So notice what's in the middle. So as above, so below. Again, if you live on that green plane, which is the inertial plane, it's called a block wall in the magnetic field, we experience that top half, the torus, over the Earth. So here's a closer picture of it. So from that first picture, which is the double torus, if we were looking at it from the top view looking down, this would be the top torus. And again, pretty cool. Now check this out. Now this is the path that the ISS makes